Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. I'd like to open us up with a quick word of prayer, and then we'll move on into our worship. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this evening. Thank you for bringing us all together. I just praise you for everything you do for us, Lord, and I pray that you are with us tonight and you help speak through me, Lord, and you help us to have a wonderful night of worship. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, if you don't mind rising and turning in your hymnals to page number 549.
There you go. Yeah, now you're up. Yeah, now we can go.
Pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day. Still playing as I'm onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay when doubts arise and fears dismay. Through some may dwell where these abound. My prayer, my aim is higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith in heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to live above the world. Through Satan's darts at me are hurled. For faith has caught the joyful sound, the song of saints on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. I want to scale the utmost height and catch a gleam of glory bright. But still I pray till heaven I found. Lord, lead me on to higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand by faith on heaven's tableland, a higher plane than I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground.
Take time to welcome each other.
Hey,
Hey, baby.
how you doing?
Do you mind doing
Justin, we all? Justin.
Yeah.
Well, I can't write, so I just carry the mic and hold the paper. And Danny, you record anything we need to record. How's that? Oh, it would have to start hurting. Okay, other than what's written on here for right now, do you have anything we need to add or any updates?
Just remember the funeral tomorrow.
Yeah, we have a funeral, double funeral tomorrow for the Walser family. 4 o'clock here. Just be in prayer for the family and all those involved. All right. Well, Danny Williams called me this afternoon. Benny's in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Benny and Taylor both have the virus, and Taylor's, they're both sick, pretty sick. Benny can't hardly breathe a little bit, so he went to the hospital today for therapy and so forth. So be in prayer for both of those. Adam is staying away from him, so he's okay right now.
We heard James Buggles.
James Buggles, he's still in the hospital, and he has he went in there, I think it was a urinary tract infection, I think last week. Turned into some pneumonia. But I think the report I got today that he is pretty much taking a turn now, doing somewhat better. That he is in the hospital.
What room is he in?
I do not know. I don't know what room he's in. If anybody that's listening, maybe if Gene's on
Zero mic on.
Yes, my mic is on.
All right, I can hear you.
He was just talking a little lower.
All right, anybody else?
Keep Jay's dad in your prayer. The surgery they were planning on doing, they didn't get to do. He had surgery Monday. It was postponed because the doctor had an emergency. Well, they put Gene in the hospital now. The procedure they were gonna do, they cannot do the stents. They're gonna have to do bypass surgery.
Okay, this is Jason Plummer's dad. They were going to do some surgery. They did not have to do it yet today because of some other underlying situation.
It's Friday and
And
it's a major surgery. And this is to save his leg.
This is the
Save his
stent,
dying.
the stent put in the leg to keep him,
They're having to do bypass.
oh, heart. This,
The bypass on the leg, the artery is blocked. So
yeah, he was going to put a stent in the leg, right?
No, they cannot.
Oh,
That's what they found out they cannot do,
okay. So what are they going to do?
bypass.
Heart bypass. Oh, bypassing the leg. Gotcha. All right, I got it. We're on the same
None
page
of the
now.
mic's on, but it's the brain.
We're on the same page. The brain ain't working too good right now, but the mic is still on, Mr. Ben. Okay, Jenny.
Just some family members, we got some family that's got the COVID real bad in South Carolina.
Okay, Jenny Safer has family members in South Carolina. COVID, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, with COVID, be prayerful for them. Seems like a lot of people is getting this second round here.
Any updates on Keith Farrow
Keith Farrow was put on an event this morning,
this morning?
and the way that I was hearing from various texts from Joe and so forth was he might be coming back off of it if things keep improving like they saying. But I don't know where that source came from. I don't think it come from Joe, but somebody that I was talking to that had insight on that. I can't confirm nor deny it, but I think they said something about he might be coming off if things continue to improve.
Have y'all got Benny?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
And Taylor.
and Taylor.
And Taylor, because she was confirmed COVID a week and a half ago. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah. Benny has been sick that whole time too.
Yeah.
But, and put my Kathy back on there. Yep. Kathy's struggling. I mean,
Oh boy.
she can't walk, can't stand up, passes out, throws up. She's just, it's awful. She got out of the car. I take her to the chiropractor, she got out of the car, she was gonna throw something in the trash. And I looked out and she is like a drunk person doing one of those sobriety test things.
Mm.
I was like, oh my gosh, I went and grabbed her to keep her from falling. And you just never know. I mean, one minute she's fine and the next minute, whoosh. Yep. And that's really just how that.
It's up and down.
Yeah, it just happens just that fast.
Is it blood pressure?
She has a thing called POTS. And what it is, when she stands up, her blood pressure plummets.
It doesn't regulate?
And then her heart races to try and get her blood back up. And so her, everything just kind of, yeah.
It's similar to the orthostatic blood pressure problems. One person is low on volume, but hers is another scenario. When she stands up, instead of being volume, it's something else that's causing her pressure to drop. It's a similar situation though.
And then she went and she took salt tablets, she took the salt tablets she's supposed to take, and she'd taken a Finnegan, and she went and took a Finnegan, and the minute she took that, the minute she took a drink of water to swallow all that stuff, there it went. So, she can't, the medication, she can't even get the medication in her body. So,
There's another route. That's
Yeah,
what they do with
Right, that's
Justin.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
ugh.
That's what they do with Justin. Another route. Anybody else?
Cheryl Lippard's dog got out yesterday. She
Oh,
was
yeah.
heartbroken. Little black schnauzers, they've had
I've
the
been-
dog for years.
I've been seeing that on posts.
Y'all pray that she can find that dog, because the dog's really special to her, and
Was it the inside dog all the time?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
inside, outside, I
Yeah.
think, right? I mean, she bled out
Don
during the day.
bled out to Rome though.
Yeah, But that air conditioning guy came in or something other and left the gate open. And the dog's like 13 years old.
Oh, my.
I kept my dogs out last night hoping they would bark, because they bark all the time. I hope they'd bark and I'd, you know, maybe the dog was coming around and I could catch him. But anyway, she's just devastated. So I mean, I know for a lot of people, y'all don't understand if you're not a pet lover, but this is her companion. It's special to her, not special.
All right, anybody else? All right, well, I'll try to remember these extra prayer requests that were made. Miss Dina wrote them down, so that's gonna help me a whole lot. And I'll just do like what Joe did, I'll read it off the top, and then I'll flip it over and catch the ones on the back, and then we'll get started for what the Lord laid on Dale's heart. Justin, turn the pulpit mic on. Let's bow. Heavenly Father, Lord, we love you. We thank you for all the blessings of life that you've given us. Lord, we just thank you for the time that we can come together as a body here tonight, Lord. Just go over the list of names, many names that we have here for various prayer requests. And those the ones we also added to the list as well, Lord. Lord, I just ask you to be with our pastor, Miss Norma, as they're away on the vacation, Lord. They need a much needed vacation. Just give them refreshed, give them the time together, and just be rejuvenated and ready to go when they get back. Lord, as we go over these names, I still think of Lori and Phil Rabin. They're still recovering from their loss. From their illness that they had. Lord, I just continue to pray for their healing. Just give them strength. I think of Miss Jean and the rest of the family. Miss Jean Bourne, as the homegoing of Bobby, Lord, that was just a loss to her, Lord. But just every need and everything involved there. I think of Sally Wagner as she continues to heal for her situation, Lord, and there's many more. I got Karen Mowry and Deborah Gallagher with their knee. Just get whatever situation is going on in her leg to heal up so she can get back on her feet. And we got Lynn Messick, Lord. We got Dyson McCullough has some issues here. Lord, Joe and Shirley Kessler, Sheila Cannon, Brooke and Charlie Steele, Doris Hatfield, Van Oliver, Kirby Hills, Tara Witt, and the Jimmy Walser's family. Funerals tomorrow. So be with Stanley and as he delivers the service for the Walser family, Lord. And it's going to be tough. I think of Rick Cochran as you continue to heal. Give him strength. Gene Plummer, we mentioned him a while ago about his leg situation, Lord. His lead guy and doctors as they do the surgery upcoming, I think it's Friday, as she said. I got Jimmy and Bonnie Steyerwalt. The need in that situation, Lord. We got Sally Wagner again, twice. And then Greg Phillips. Jeff Rohn is doing good. I saw him a couple of days ago, and he's walking quite a bit. Can't sit very long, about 5 minutes is all I can sit, but that'll heal up in time. Cecil for Salvation, Anita Campbell, Teresa and Junior Buchanan, Chris Lippard, Dan and Mary Fellinger, Rick Fessman, Richard Birch. I saw that he's home now, and continue to heal in his situation. Gary's grandbabies, Ron Hone, Patricia Allen, Brian Fidela, Van Oliver, Maria Lowe, Bob Jordan, Randy Earnhardt, Kim is a caregiver, schools and kids, the hurricane victims, and the Afghanistan situation. Lord, you know all the situation going on there. It's terrible. It's terrible, but I would lay it upon your feet for your situation there. The disaster relief going in Louisiana. We have some going down there this weekend. As you keep them safe on their travels, Lord, and the ministry that they do to shine in somebody's eyes, where they might be able to know that you're there. Lord, we got shut-ins. Got James Bogle. He's in the hospital right now. I'd like to ask you to lay your hand upon him, Lord. Cecilia Burleson, Houston Williams, Marilyn Smith, Greg Phillips, Stella Guffey, and Bonnie Starwall, and all the caregivers that are involved with these shut-ins, Lord. College students, we have Felicia Fitzgerald, Derek Aguilera, Abraham Matalebo, Kristen Williams, Ben Suggs, Eli Huffman, Alan Aguilera, and Felipe Torres. Think of our military that we have from our church here. Aiden Lawther, Logan Lawther, Bryce Williams, Bradley Looney, Joshua Mowbray, Liam Sullivan, Joshua McCurry, Christian De La Cruz, Jimmy Jordan, John Parker, Jacob McCurry, and Danny Torres. Also think of our home missions that we have. A.J. James and in the school ministry, Rodney McKinney in prison ministry, Crystal Dehart, Life Village, Brian Whitaker in Michigan, Rolling Mills in New York. All of our foreign missionaries that we have, Lord, Ann Lionheart in Africa, Zev Porat in Israel, Ryan and Rebecca Beach in Mexico, Nathan in Southeast Asia, Kenzie Castor in Mexico, the Lothamers in England, Rick and Deb Miller in Japan, Carrie Falk in China, Adam and Emily Barrety in Spain, and the Millers in the Philippines. Uncle Lord, again, we have the bringing up Benny Williams is in the hospital with this virus, Lord, and Taylor's at home doing not good, but she's able to stay at home. To be with those two, as well as the many others that are in the hospital with this virus, and also those that are home. And Jenny's family just with COVID, to pray for those that's in South Carolina for her. We understand Keith Farrow's on the vent right now. Lord, just sure will. And if you can get him off of that vent and get him back to health, Lord, would be praise you for everything said and done there. Kathy Majors having some chronic issues and problems, Lord. I just ask that you lay your hand upon her, Lord, in a mighty way. And I think of Miss Cheryl about her dog, Lord. It's just like a companion for her, been in her family for many years, and you just to be with with her as hope they found the dog for her comfort. Lord, we quick to give you all the praise, honor, and glory. Everything's said and done. Just I pray, amen.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you doing that. Good evening again, everyone. I am not typically a public speaker, so I apologize in advance. Please pray for me. So Pastor approached me 4 days ago and said, hey, I really need somebody to teach on Wednesday night. I need the Wednesday nights covered. And I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, nope, not me. And, you can't tell Pastor no. So I said, well, how about next Wednesday? Give me a little bit of time to prepare. So he's like, okay, well, that sounds good. So, I start sitting Sunday morning service, and I'm kind of taking some notes, and God's talking to me about some different things and things that I plan to do some research on and whatnot. And after the service, he comes to me, 3 days ago, and I really need you this Wednesday. So here we are. I don't have a prepared lesson, so basically, I had a whole bunch of different things and different places that I was thinking of going. And, the real easy thing to do is share testimony. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Share a little bit. Testimonies can be crazy. And anyways, this is just a very short 57-point condensed version of my testimony. And these are just my notes. So anyways, hopefully I can get through it, and if not, then God's going to lead this conversation, and I have no doubt that something good's going to come of it. So anyways, I was born in California at Long Beach Memorial Hospital, and I was born into a Christian family. Both my parents were strong Christians, and my grandparents were Christians, so came into a very lucky, fortunate household. I didn't have to deal with a whole lot of stuff. Some of my first memories are actually in the church. I remember being in Sunday school and the Sunday school instructor telling me that I had to have a favorite color. So I picked red, which I've changed since then. So I'm not going to give you the answer to my security questions. So you just have to guess what my real favorite color is. I remember going with my dad to the church, and it was a church and a Christian school, so they had basketball courts. And I remember going with my dad and painting the basketball goals and stuff. So I also remember being real little, sneaking into the adults Sunday school class, and they had the best coffee cake that I've ever had in my life. I've never had any that touched what this coffee cake was. I think it was because it was stolen, but I haven't come across any quite that good since. I've got 2 younger brothers, and we lived in a little town called Bellflower, which is in Los Angeles, Compton area, until I was 10 years old. And when I was 10, my youngest brother was born, and we had to move out to the desert. So I lived in Palmdale, and this is a picture of the Welcome to Palmdale sign and an aerial view of where I grew up. It's not great. But anyways, that'll come to play a little bit later when I have something else to share with y'all. Okay. So when we moved to Palmdale, I remember it took a little bit of time to find a home church. I don't really remember visiting a whole lot, but I do remember when we weren't going to church, I had to do yard work and clean the pool. So I remember not a whole lot until about youth, but in my younger days, I remember I liked going to church more than I liked doing yard work. So that was definitely a plus. Sorry. Let's see. When we did find a church, like I said, I didn't remember a whole lot about the early years. I kind of remember very clearly the very first time that I went to youth group, and it was very odd. It wasn't like we do here. It was actually in my middle school gym. So the school that I attended, the church rented out their gym on Wednesday nights for youth group. So it was like going into a familiar place to meet a whole bunch of people that I've never met before. And I remember talking about Jesus and Chubby Bunny. If you guys know what Chubby Bunny is. No? Oh, I thought that would get a giggle. So Chubby Bunny is where you shove marshmallows in your mouth and you say, Chubby Bunny. And whoever can get the most marshmallows in your mouth without spitting them all over the place is the winner. So that was my first experience with youth. I really enjoyed it, but from there on out, it was good for me. So that leads to the very first verse that I want to share with you guys. It's Revelations. Well, I'll just read it out here. Revelations 3:16. So what's important about this verse is it was kind of, I don't know if it was a personal conviction or if it was actually what the youth leaders tried to pound into all of our heads all the time. Thinking back now, it was probably just something that God was trying to get a hold of me and tell me. But anyways, so then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. So I'm sure you guys have heard that verse before. If you're cold, then it's real easy at least I think it's easy. I wasn't in that position myself. But, if you're doing the wrong things, I feel like it's easier for God to kind of correct you and get a hold of you. And, if you're on fire for God, then you're on fire for God and you know where you're going. But it's those people that are kind of in the in-between that, it's really tough because they think they're going to heaven, but no, they're not going to heaven. So, anyways, that's kind of what I remember up until I became a Christian, before I accepted Jesus as my Savior. So I wasn't saved all the way up to youth. Now in my days in California, youth didn't start until 7th grade. So I was 14 years old, and I still wasn't a Christian. And I grew up in a Christian home, And I, didn't know any better because nobody, I don't know. I was just lukewarm. So, anyways, I got baptized when I was 11 or 12 years old. Mind you, I was not saved until later in life because, that's what you're supposed to do. You go to church and you get baptized and, you follow the rules and you get to go to heaven. So even a few more things about what I would do in church. I wrote articles and short stories for the church monthly newsletter. I sang in both the adult choir and I was one of, I think it was 4 or 5 members of the youth praise team. And, I went to church and I was the big man on campus. Everybody knew who I was. And I was, I was just that example of what all the parents wanted their kids to be like. And I wasn't even a Christian, So, anyways, that leads us into a few more verses. I'm not the authority on this, so Pastor, I apologize if I'm wrong. I think these verses apply to the topic, but age of accountability. Basically, there's some point where the difference between right and wrong, and you're sinning, like straight out. You're not. You're sinning, and if anything happens to you, then you're not going to go to heaven. It's just a fact. So the first verse I have is Psalms 51:5. And 51:5 says, and this is, hold on, I have other notes on this. David wrote this. So this is what he's saying about himself. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. That doesn't mean that his mother was sinning when they had him. It just means that from conception, from the time that he was thought of, he was a sinner, like we are of a sin nature. The other verse that I have is also something that David said, and it's in 2 Samuel 12, 21, and 23. That's the other way. And this just kind of talks about the age of accountability. It's quite a few verses. I'll try and get through them without mispronouncing anything. It says, then David arose from the earth. Oh, well, let me give you a little bit of backstory. So remember, David had kind of a bad idea one time. He was on a roof and he saw something and he decided that he was going to, be, he was going to do, what he did. So, and he had a son. And as punishment for that, God took his son. And this is before his son actually died, or right as that event happened. Said, then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came unto the house of the Lord and worshipped. So this is right after his kid that he loved died. He had been begging for God to spare his life, but he didn't. So this kid died, and he gets up and goes to church and goes and sings praise songs. Then he came to his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat. So, before that, he was fasting, and he was all sorts of tore up. Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was still alive, but when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. So, you're all upset before the kid dies, and then after the funeral, you're like, okay, whatever. So the servants are like, that's really weird. So anyways, who can tell whether God will be gracious to me? This is David speaking. Who can tell whether God will be gracious to me that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore should I fast? God's not going to resurrect his kid from the dead. It's already done. Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. So this is a baby, and the baby, David's basically saying that this baby's in heaven, And the baby didn't accept Christ, but David's saying that he went to heaven and he's going to go to him when he goes to heaven. But that baby can't come back to him. So just something to think about. All right. So all that to say, by the time that I was 13, 14 years old, I was very accountable for my actions. I knew what was right. I knew what was wrong. I knew that my mom and dad would tan my hide if I got caught. So I still did this stuff. So anyways, I wasn't a bad kid per se. I did do, I don't know if I get into this later or not. Like I said, I wish I would have had time to memorize this whole story, but I want to make sure I don't get off on tangents and we don't stay here all night. So anyways, I'll just get into it. My sins were going, and my mom loved to bake. She would bake cookies and cakes and breads and give them all away because, she didn't want them in the house, but she loved to bake. So her 3 boys didn't get any of her baking goodies. At least that's how I remember it. It may have been different than that, but so I would go and she'd have something in the refrigerator. It'd be like all nice and cellophane with cookies on this side and bread all just cut up on this side, and I kind of go like this and get in there, get me a piece of bread or get me a cookie. And I guess I wasn't as slick as I thought I was, because my mom would be like, "What'd you do?" Nothing. So I'd sneak into the refrigerator and get sweets out of it and then lie to my mom about, "I didn't do nothing." I was the terror to my 2 younger brothers. I know, at least my middle brother. my youngest brother, he was just the baby. Like, he didn't really bother me a whole lot. But that pesky 5-year younger than me brother, I couldn't stand. He was always in my stuff. He always wanted to play with me. But anyway, so I was terrible to him. If I didn't want to do my homework, I kind of remember the story, but I think it was just because it's been told to me. But this one particular time, I just didn't want to do homework anymore. I was like, you know what? This homework's for the birds. So I took my backpack. I walked my little butt down to the end of the thing and threw it in the dumpster. My whole backpack, right in the dumpster. And I guess one of the teachers saw what happened, and I told my parents, "Oh yeah, I don't know what happened to my backpack." And one of the teachers was like, "Yeah, he threw his backpack. Here it is. It's kind of stinky." So, doing that kind of stuff. I had not the greatest friends in school because, I went to public school and I went to church. So on Sundays and Wednesdays and, choir practice night and everything else, I was the church kid. And during the week at school, my parents weren't around. I could be whoever I wanted to be. So, cursing and skipping class and just doing whatever I felt like I wanted to do because I could. And, there wasn't any repercussions of it because I go to church on Sunday, so I'm going to heaven, right? I'm a good kid. At least I'm not out there doing the other stuff that these other people are doing, right? So I wasn't going to go here, but there ain't a whole lot to do out there. So you can imagine what the kids were doing, and it wasn't good. And at least I wasn't doing that. So I was a good kid. I'm still good on time. We might actually get out of here early tonight. So anyways, those were kind of my sins, But sin. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Any disobedience to God is a sin. And I had some verses on that, but they didn't wind up making it into my notes. But you can just trust me on that. And if you really want me to look them up, I'm sure I can find them for you. So anyways, let's see. Oh, yeah, here's my notes on all that stuff. Let me see where I'm at. Sin doesn't have to be loud, ugly, and stinky. Sin can be sneaky and quiet. And, nobody else needs to know about it. Like, you could just go in your little corner and do your sin, and no one else except God knows that you're doing it. Let's see. Sin can even be going to hang out with your church friends when God told you to do something else? There's a whole book in the Bible about that. It's called Jonah. Now, he wasn't going to hang out with his church friends. It's a little bit different. But, it's really the same thing. He was going to do his own thing. God told him to do something else. And is it really that different if God tells you that you need to go give a Bible to that guy that stands on the corner, and you're like, well, I've got whatever group tonight, and my friends are going to be playing pickleball, and I don't want to disappoint them. That's a sin. I don't have it in my notes here, but one thing, and it ate me up for years. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm not saved yet. But after I was saved, I used to ride the bus to school, and there was, God would tell me things like, you need to do this, or you need to talk to this person, or you need to do something else. And there was this one particular kid on the bus. I know I've shared this story probably in the men's class before. This one particular kid on the bus, and God told me, you need to go invite him to the concert at the church, or I don't remember what it was, but it was some fun youth event that I was looking forward to this coming weekend. And God said, you need to invite him. Well, this particular kid was one that had bullied me for a long time, for a lot of years. And I was like, I don't want to go talk to that kid. I'm gonna go up to him and he's gonna punch me in the face. Like, God, what are you thinking? So I didn't talk to him. And I found out, I hoped that someone else went and talked to him. But I found out over the summer he OD'd. So, and that just absolutely crushed me, that I know for a fact that God wanted to use me in his life, and I refused. So, anyways, sorry for the downer. Back into my story. So, testimonies about a lot of people, and I've heard testimonies before I was saved. It's like, yeah, I was doing drugs and alcohol, and I was doing this and that, and I robbed the bank or whatever, and then this guy gave me a tract, and it really, God got a hold of me and turned me around, and I only did 5 years in jail instead of 10, and whatever it was. And I'm like, well, that's not me. I'm not doing those sorts of hard sins. So, anyways, we're all sinful by nature. So that gets me to the fun part of my story. Remember, I know I keep showing this. It's hilarious to me. Palmdale. People ask me, I've done lots of cool things in the military. I worked at the White House. I've done cool things. And actually, just the other day, somebody asked me, why are you in Salisbury? Well, that's why. I love Salisbury. There's things about it that aren't great, but I enjoy it. I enjoy trees. I enjoy rain. Some other things that are nice. Not being dirty when you walk outside. Not 115 degrees, but it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. 0% humidity. So you walk outside and it's all the moisture out of your skin. But it's a dry heat. It's wonderful. Anyways, I'll stop bragging on Palmdale. So, our youth group would go every summer to a place called Hume Lake. And it was in Northern California. And this place was beautiful. It cost $350 way back then for each kid to go. And there may have been scholarships, but I don't think that I ever got one. They were more reserved for the kids that parents didn't come to church, and it was an outreach. And I was the star pupil Christian that I didn't need a scholarship. I don't have to go to camp because I'm already the star pupil. If you don't get to go, then it's okay, because all the bad kids get to go, and they're going to learn about Jesus. So, anyways, the first year I did not sell enough chocolate to go to Hume Lake. And I regretted it because I heard the stories and I saw some of the pictures, and it was amazing. So this is Ponderosa Lodge. This was our dining facility. You can see in the back, well, I guess I can go this way. In the back, that's windows all the way to the ceiling. And if you turn around from this view and look out, it's the lake. So you go in, and the back wall is where all of the soda fountains and all of the, everything is that is wonderful for kids to eat. And then you go and you sit down, and on 3 sides of this building was glass. It was just amazing. Here's another cool place. This was more of a hangout kind of after chapel. It's Hume and Beans. They had the best coffee at the time. I don't know if it's still the best coffee. They had one that was called the Hammerhead, and all us guys would go and get the Hammerhead. And I don't remember what it was, but I think it was like the 3-day-old coffee, and then they put a couple shots of espresso in it. So it would knock you like a hammer. But that was the cool thing to get for us guys that were macho. But anyways, here is the lake. That is just God speaking to you. It's beautiful. You can just sit there and take it in. And, you guys live in Salisbury, so you're used to beautiful views like this. But you got the mountains in the background, and, sometimes they'd be snow-capped. Just amazing. It's up in the Sequoia National Forest. That's where those pine trees are that are as big around as this room. Just an amazing, beautiful place. So that's the setting. I go from my day-to-day life in Palmdale, where I go to school and I curse and I skip class, and at night I go do my church thing, and on the weekends, because I never let my parents see the bad side of me. So I get home off the bus and I'd be that good kid again, other than I was getting terrible grades, and I was sneaking into food, and I was probably doing all sorts of other bad things that I shouldn't have been doing, getting into my dad's tools. I remember a couple of those situations. I'm just glad I have girls. I don't have to worry about my tools. But I listen to my wife, Tiffany, talk, and they're into her makeup, and they're into her this, and they're that, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I did to my dad. Anyways, so Hume Lake. One year at Hume Lake, the last night of camp, Friday, August 29th, 1997. It was during the evening service, and awesome, amazing worship, and God just reached down and gave me a huge hug, and I gave my life to Him that night, and it was amazing. There's nothing like it. Since then, that night, so I told you how wonderful a kid I am at church, and how I, try and pretend to my parents that I was okay. It's hard when you're the model kid. Like when I went down to the altar, my youth leaders were like, "What's he doing?" And my peers were like, "What's he doing?" And when they found out that I'd become a Christian that night, they were just blown away. They're like, "You weren't a Christian?" So a lot of you know, I don't know anybody that doesn't, but it would surprise me, the Left Behind series. That's kind of old too, but I don't see any really young people in here. Sorry. Anybody like half my age. I don't see anybody half my age in here. The lead main character of that book is the pastor of the church, and he's left behind. And that is not fiction. Like, the book is fiction, but that scenario, that's not fiction. Like, I guarantee you there's pastors that are not saved. There's people in every church, I'm certain of it, that think that they're saved. They come to church on Sunday, they come to church on, possibly Wednesday, and they're not saved. It's just a terrible thing. Anyways, so I surprised my youth leaders and my friends, and everybody, like going back to the testimonies, everybody says that they had a hole in their life that they're trying to fill. And, I've heard it called a God-sized hole that they're trying to fill with fame, money, drugs, alcohol, all these different things, worldly things that they're trying to fill this God-sized hole with. And I was trying to fill that God-sized hole with church. I was hanging out with, the kids at school or whatever. That was just kind of my pastime. I had to fit in, right? Like, I don't want to be the weirdo and get picked on anymore. So I still had that hole. I still needed something to make me feel good about myself. So my fix was going to church. And my parents were amazing. I love them to death. But back then, I was butting heads, and I couldn't stand my folks. I'm not sure why. I don't remember. Probably because they punished me for being bad or something. I think my kids like me. I hope they do. But I did not get along with my parents. I thought that, and I see it in my life still today a little bit. Like, I'm very independent, and I know what I need to do, and I don't need anybody else to tell me what to do. And it's not a great quality in me, but I had that real strong when I was a kid. So I don't need you to tell me when to go to bed, or I don't need you to tell me what my flaws are. I don't need you to yell at me. I know what my flaws are. Like, I accept me for who I am. And they didn't. Or, they were trying to make me better. They were doing the right thing. I just didn't accept it. So anyways, 1997, I come back from youth camp, and my parents are like, they're happy for me, but they're skeptical. So God really, I think He used me to minister to other folks. I hope He did, at least. I don't have any firsthand experience or stories that I can tell, but my life, I was already the model Christian kid, and I just turned it up. Like, I gave up television. So I'm a 15-year-old kid, and I refused to watch TV. If I was in a room that had a TV, I'd find a chair that was not facing the television, or I'd go somewhere else. I don't remember if someone gave me this or if I bought it for myself, but this was my Bible, and I did not go anywhere without it. It was in my backpack or on my person everywhere I went. And it's kind of beat up, you can tell. It's got some nice, cool coloring on it, and it's got some highlights and notes and different stuff in there. But I went and dug that out to show you all tonight. I thought that was kind of neat. I've still got that. But yeah, that was my Bible. I had with me all the time. Before that, I had a Bible on Sunday, or had maybe, probably didn't want to bring it because it's in my room. I don't need it. The teacher's going to read the verse to me anyways. So, but yeah, once I was saved, that was with me all the time. I dove headfirst into Scripture. I was reading every chance I got. I was talking with my youth pastor and getting recommendations on things that I could read and study. And I was, full into it. Let's see. So the other thing too, like, I was really struggling with a lot of things, and like I said earlier, like I know my struggles, and I know who I am, and I accepted me for who I was, and I'm my best friend and all that other good jazz. But when I got saved that night, God delivered me from greed, from jealousy, from lust, from boredom, from loneliness. All these things that I was struggling with. You looked at me, I looked like a happy kid. And really on the inside, I was tormented. And that night, all that was gone. Like, I didn't have to deal with it anymore. Now, I still struggled. Like, it wasn't just, happy golden paved roads for the rest of my life. I still had struggles, but they didn't affect me anymore. Like, I would see something, you know, my friends would be allowed to go to, you know, drive down to San Diego for the weekend, and my parents wouldn't let me go because something might happen to me, or you know, my car that had 3 million miles on it might break down. But you know, still, you'd be a little jealous, but I just turned it over to God, and it didn't affect me. I would have constant communication. Like, I would see something funny, and it would be like a conversation. I miss that about myself. I wish I still, you know, still had the conversations. But it's like, hey, God, that's funny. Thanks for doing that, or thanks for doing whatever. And you know, after I became a Christian, I found parking spots at school. It was like, you know, green lights, like all of these amazing things. And I'm not saying that, you know, you become a Christian, like I said, it's not golden paved roads, but maybe it was just my perception. Maybe when I did get stopped by a light, or maybe when it took me a little bit longer to find a parking spot, like it didn't affect me. And I don't remember those times. I only remember, you know, having a good conversation with God and being like, oh, thanks, there's a parking spot, I'm good to go. So I did have a note in here. Just imagine, I'm sure all of you thought when I said I gave up TV, imagine a 15-year-old today giving up the internet. Like, that was my conviction. And I know for a fact that was not for me. That was for somebody else to like say, wow, that kid changed. Like, there's something about this Jesus. And I hope that through my youth affected somebody and helped them come to Christ. But yeah, I was the weird kid that wouldn't watch TV. Somebody once told me, I wish I remembered who it was, but somebody once told me, when you're bored, like, I don't feel like I get bored as an adult because there's like a gajillion things to do all the time. But, you know, I hear my kids say, oh, I'm bored. So, like, I guess it's more applicable to children. But they told me when you feel bored, that's God wanting to spend time with you. And I took that to be like, you know, when I didn't have anything to do, I picked this up. When I couldn't pick this up and I didn't have anything to do and I felt bored, I would either, you know, sing worship, or I would just pray, or, you know, just, you don't even have to pray. Like, close your eyes and, dear Lord, thou art awesome. You just have a normal conversation. Like, God is listening. He wants to have a relationship with us. So anyways, now I'm saved, and everything's wonderful. Like I said, I'm thinking, what's next? So I'm 15 years old when I get saved, and, you know, still in high school. Like I said, I dove into the Bible. I went to every Christian event that I could. I don't remember the name of it. The Hell's Gates and Heaven's Gates and Hell's Fire, or whatever. They had that going around. I know Lee Dupree talked about that. That was one of the events that was real big when I was in school. And we go to that, and that was like flashy lights and ooh, but it was cool. I went to all the different concerts I could go to. I went and listened to all the different testimonies that I could listen to. I just dove in. Speaking about other people's testimonies, it seemed like there was a key factor in every single testimony that I'd listened to. It was either they made some sort of dumb choice, or some sort of series of dumb choices, and then that led them to a place where they met God. They saved, turned from their sin, they repented, and then God picks them up out of what they're in, points them in the right direction, and that's where the story ends. Like, that's not where the story ends. Like, there's the rest of your life. So that's what I'm yearning for. I'm young. I'm a young Christian. I'm a young person, and I want to know what's next. Like, God, do you want me to do what? Like, what do you want me to do with my life? And I'm just, going through school. I graduate high school, and get this. So before I was saved, like, I was a C average student. Like, I failed in my freshman year health. I failed health because my teacher, Mr. Gay, said, you don't have to do your homework. So I was like, yes, I don't have to do my homework. And it took all the way to the end of the year for him to say, and I don't have to pass you. So I got an F in health. I also failed English. So I had to do summer school one year, and I'm sure I remember my parents. I don't know if they had any vacations planned, but they said that I spoiled all their plans, and I'm the terrible kid. Anyways, so I had to do summer school over summer, and then that leads right into the next year of school. So that was terrible. I didn't want to do that again. So at least I got C's and D's, so I didn't have to do summer school again. But my senior year, and I don't remember about my junior year. I probably should have went and looked it up. But my senior year, I got straight A's. Like, I was not sidetracked. God had me on the road to something. And after that, I did wind up getting a scholarship. I didn't have this in my notes either, but I did wind up getting a scholarship to Christian Heritage College, and I went down there and I visited it. I fell absolutely in love with this college, and I knew in the bottom of my heart I was going to be a youth pastor. That's what I wanted to do. And I talked to my youth pastor, and he talked me out of it. He said, the pay's terrible, the hours are terrible, everything's terrible about doing this. And I caught up with him later in life, and I asked, why'd you do that? And he said, if you're really called to do something, you're going to do it. So that was what he said. I don't know if it was right. I wouldn't be here talking to you guys tonight if I would have pursued that. And my scholarship was for $1,000, so that probably would have paid for food for the first week. So it's not like I gave up on a whole lot. But anyway, so all these different testimonies. I'm looking at time. I have to be fast. All of these different testimonies that I'm hearing are, I did something dumb, and then God picked me up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm 19 years old. I've already done a year of college. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something dumb so that God will pick me up and point me in the right direction. Don't spoil it. So I signed up for the United States Army. What can be dumber than that? So anyways, the recruiter calls me. I'm giving him all the excuses in the book why I'm not a fit candidate to do this thing. And he's like, no, you're good. That doesn't matter. And I wind up having to, I still had braces. I had to get my braces off. I had to retake the ASVAB because my ASVAB had expired. And, it was months from the time that I decided to join the Army. I was in the delayed entry program until I got my orders to ship to basic training. I shipped to basic training on August 29th, 2001, exactly 4 years after I was saved. So God was driving. Like, he gave that recruiter my phone number, and that was what God's plan for my life was. I mean, I don't know, maybe I was supposed to do something else, but at this point, he's telling me, I am in control of your life. I am leading you. I am here for you. And it was crazy to realize that. So he was leading me, and I didn't even know. I'll skip through the rest of this really fast. So my Army life, that could be a whole nother testimony. Army life is super not Christian friendly. I stayed in church. I stayed Christian. I tried to stick to my principles. I was deployed. That was probably, when I was deployed, I was probably behaved myself the best because you're not allowed to do anything. But anyways, I met my wife, Tiffany, beautiful Tiffany, when I was in the Army. We got married when I was in the Army. We had our 2 oldest kids while I was in the Army, so lots of good things happened from the Army. And that's where I'll leave it. But anyways, God kept me safe. Like, He led me. He in the Army, it's real super simple because they tell you what to do. Like, they tell you when you're promoted. They tell you when you're going here. They tell you when you're going to bed. They tell you when to shine your boots. Like, it's not a whole lot left to you. So that was real easy. And then after I got out of the Army, I was basically handed the job that I have now. I had to apply for it, and I went through the regular process, but the process was a God process. Like, I went in for an interview, and everything went great. They called me back and told me, we did a negotiation, and they hired me on doing something that I really enjoyed doing, and that's where I am today. So, I'm sorry, guys. It's already 8 o'clock, but let me run through just the last little bit that I've got. Hume Lake, 1999. This is my senior year of my last time. I actually went back through some of my notes and things that I had taken, and we were just talking about this the other day, but Francis Chan was our lead speaker at Hume Lake in '99, and he wasn't, some of you may not know who he is. He's written some books since then. He's pretty famous. He does a lot of videos and things, but I don't think he really did a whole lot before that. Like, that was when he was still growing up. And one of the things that he shared, and this is really geared towards teenagers, it's not geared towards us old fogies, but he says that when you're born, God gives you a white t-shirt. And, as you go through life, that's the only t-shirt you get. And you get stains on it, you get it messed up, you get it ripped up, and that's your purity. Like, you are sin, covered in sin, just nasty. And when you give your life to Christ, He takes that shirt and He gives you a party shirt. And my party shirt in 1999, I wanted my party shirt to be neon green. And anyways, that's besides the point. And he says he gives you a party shirt. It doesn't matter. Like, he's going to keep that shirt clean. You are His now. You are a child of God. And He also gives you a bunch of flyers to hand out to this party that's going to be happening. And he says, you got to hand those flyers out. You're like, you got saved, you got flyers like this, and you're walking around. And if you don't give out those flyers, you can be walking around like this for a long time. You're going to be real tired. And, you're not going to have any fun once you get to the party because ain't nobody coming to the party because you didn't invite anybody. So I thought that was something cool to share. In closing, I want to just ask, for those of you in the room and those of you on live stream, are you certain of your salvation? Do you have fruit in your life? God will deliver you from your burdens. Another verse that I have, Matthew 11:28 and 30. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. If you bring your burden to God, He'll take it. It won't be a burden anymore. If you're carrying a burden with you tonight, I want you to give it to God. That night in 1997, I had all sorts of burdens, and I gave them to God, and He took them. And, life was great. Still struggled, but life was great. Even if you were saved a long time ago, you can still, through life, you can take on burdens. And, it doesn't matter if you're saved or not. You have to remember to let God handle the burdens. Let God take care of things. And just trusting God for guidance. Thinking through, looking in the different stories of the Bible, God led baby Moses. Baby Moses couldn't, paddle through the river or whatever, but, it took Moses all the way through his life and led him the entire way. led the Israelites to the Promised Land, led Mary and Joseph to Bethlehem, led Paul on his entire journey. You know, he didn't know where he was going to be next, and he really had a heart for Rome. And he led Paul all the way and gave him the desires of his heart and let him go all the way to Rome and speak about God, you know, tell the story of Jesus in Rome. So just keep that in mind. I did want to sing one last song, kind of an altar call. If you guys will open your Bibles, or not Bibles, your hymnals to 343. You don't have to rise for this. You just do some self-reflection, and you know, welcome to come to the altar or stay in place if you're on live stream. I hope that you can be comfortable bringing your burdens to God. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. Thank you for this evening. Thank you for this time. Thank you for leading me, Lord. And I just praise you. I wouldn't be able to do this without you, Lord. And I just pray that you're with each one of us. And I pray that these words touch somebody tonight, Lord. I just thank you and praise you. And I pray that you go with us and keep us safe until we meet again, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank y'all.